Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
The simple wedding looked like it was straight out of a fairy tale. Adorned in fuchsia lace and walking barefoot on a spotless white sand beach in Hawaii, Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell were the picture of a happy couple in the midst of a whirlwind romance. The couple told each other they were destined to be together, having even been married before in previous lives. But that happy image had a much darker side. While Lori and Chad spent their days on the beach in Hawaii, Chad's children mourned the loss of their mother, Chad's ex-wife, Tammy Daybell, who had died suddenly a few short weeks before. And meanwhile, Lori's extended family and friends were constantly calling her, asking where her 2 young children, Tylee and JJ, were. Her kids from 2 previous marriages hadn't been seen in close to 2 months. But the couple was ready for a new start, leaving their lives behind in Idaho to enjoy the sun and sand of Hawaii. Lori and Chad's fairy tale wedding and new life in Hawaii would be short-lived. Only a few weeks after their November 2019 wedding, an official missing persons case was filed for Lori's children. A mere month later, police ordered that Chad's first wife be exhumed for further examination. Lori was arrested less than 6 months after the wedding in February 2020 in connection to the disappearance of her children. And that's when the fairy tale officially began to fall apart. A friend of Lori's came forward to tell police that despite her earlier statements, she hadn't seen Lori's children since last September. The friend revealed details about Lori's and Chad's relationship, disclosing information about a bizarre religion Lori and Chad had built together. In police custody, both Lori and Chad insisted nothing was amiss with Tylee and JJ, that the 2 were safe. But the remains of the children were discovered in June 2020. Could this happy couple really be responsible for the deaths and disappearances that surrounded them? Could Lori Vallow Daybell really be the doomsday mom the press labeled her as? The details in this one are almost too bizarre to believe. There have been many shows and podcasts about this case, but today we'll get into the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, which concluded earlier this year. And you might just hear some new details that you haven't heard before. This is Jillian in partnership with Law and Crime. You are listening to Court Junkie, episode 250/Court. Lori Vallow Daybell's trial began in Fremont County, Idaho, on April 11th, 2023. In a courtroom packed to capacity, Fremont County prosecutor Lindsay Blake chose to forego the podium, standing in front of the jury box to deliver her opening statements. She broke Lori's motivation down into 3 simple words:
money, power, and sex. That's what this case is about. The defendant, Lori Vallow Daybell, used money, power, and sex, or the promise of those things, to get what she wanted.
Pacing in front of the jury box, barely referring to her notes, Prosecutor Blake alleged that Lori was responsible for the murders of her 2 children, Tylee and JJ, and her husband's ex-wife, Tammy Daybell. She said Lori murdered Tylee and JJ in order to take advantage of the Social Security benefits they were receiving as a result of the death of Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow. She argued Lori killed Tammy to have the attention of Chad Daybell to herself, with the added bonus of Tammy's life insurance policy. Prosecutor Blake began with Tylee's last known sighting and the discovery of her remains.
Tylee was last seen on September 8th of 2019. She had just relocated with her mother to Rexburg, Idaho on or about September 1st of 2019. And 7 days later is the last known sighting of Tylee. The next time Tylee is seen is on June 9th of 2020.
The last known images of Tylee alive are from a family trip to Yellowstone on September 8th, 2019, with Lori, JJ, and Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Prosecutor Blake gave a harrowing description of what investigators found when they found Tylee's body on that June day, 9 months later.
She's found buried in a shallow grave on Chad Daybell's property. And when I say she's found, what I mean is what was left of Tylee was found. Charred remains. That's what was left of Tylee. You will hear it described as a mass of bone and tissue. That's what was left of this beautiful young woman, the defendant's daughter.
Prosecutor Blake then went on to detail the disappearance of and discovery of JJ.
JJ was last seen on September 22nd of 2019 at the defendant's apartment in Rexburg, Idaho. Last time JJ was seen, he was with his uncle, Alex Cox, the defendant's brother. You'll hear from a witness that he saw Alex Cox carrying JJ. JJ's head on his shoulder. Appeared to be a peaceful scene. Appeared JJ was sleeping at that time. JJ was not seen again until June 9th of 2020, when he was also found in a shallow grave on the defendant's property. JJ was found wrapped in garbage bags with duct tape around him.
Prosecutor Blake explained the reaction from the law enforcement officers on site. Despite their years on the job, discovering Tylee and JJ's bodies unsettled the veteran officers. According to forensic biologist Catherine Dace, a pickaxe and shovel on Chad's property revealed clear evidence of a murder weapon.
After you obtained a DNA profile, did you compare it to any other known profiles?
I did.
Did you find any match? Or what did your comparison show?
The DNA profile obtained from item 36.3.5 matched that obtained from the reference sample of Tylee Ryan. This DNA profile is at least 604 octillion times more likely to be seen if Tylee Ryan is the source than if an unrelated, randomly selected individual from the general population is the source.
Okay. Can you say that number one more time?
604 octillion.
Prosecutor Blake touched on Lori's financial motivation to murder her children, explaining that she had moved funds from Tylee's bank account to her own in early August, weeks before her daughter's disappearance. In his testimony, Special Agent Doug Hart told the jury about the digital evidence that would suggest a financial motive to kill JJ and Tylee.
In the iCloud specifically, there was communications and direct references to a large life insurance policy possessed by Charles Vallow, as well as Social Security payments that were attributable to J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan.
But Lori wasn't motivated merely by money, Prosecutor Blake said. Sex and power entered the equation when Lori met the man who would become her fifth husband, Chad Daybell. The two met in October 2018, when Lori attended the Preparing the People conference in St. George, Utah. She had previously read some of Chad's work. He was a published religious author, and attended the conference with her friends. The pair connected right off the bat, despite both of them being married.
You'll hear it described that there appeared to be some kind of an instant connection. The two of them talked a lot. The defendant was flirty. But what you will also hear is that during this first meeting, the defendant and Chad decide that they share purported religious beliefs, and that they share beliefs that the two of them had been married before in a prior probation. You will hear it talked about multi-creations or a prior probation or a prior life. But regardless of the term used, what they began to tell others is that they were essentially meant to be together. They'd been married in prior lives, prior probations. Not only that, but they both said that they had been prior figures from or persons from the Bible or other religious references.
Prosecutor Blake argued these intense religious beliefs fueled the fire behind Lori's crimes. Their spouses were alive when they met, but they carried on an affair, communicating frequently and traveling across states to visit each other. While marriage was an obstacle, it wasn't one that kept Lori from pursuing intimacy with Chad. Their relationship blossomed. So did their new theology.
The defendant, with the help of Chad Daybell, began telling people and purporting religious beliefs and teaching people about a rating system of light and dark. The defendant told others that with the help of Chad, she could rate people as light or dark.
Pretty soon, this theory evolved. The teachings of Lori and Chad evolved.
And they started to say, well, if somebody's dark, an evil spirit or an evil entity can come in, and they can push the real person out and take over the body. And the defendant and Chad Daybell talked about how you would get rid of these evil spirits.
The two began conducting what they referred to as castings, or ceremonies, to expel the evil spirits out of a person's body. Even from far away, Lori would conduct castings to release spirits from bodies she and Chad deemed dark. But these castings, as reported by witnesses, were largely unsuccessful. But Lori and Chad grew even darker.
You'll hear that these teachings evolved. And they evolved to, well, a person could be so dark or a spirit could be so evil that the person actually becomes a zombie. You can't cast a zombie out. But a common theme was the body had to be destroyed.
The state's prosecution relied on witness testimony from friends of Lori's to highlight the strange and disturbing relationship between Lori and Chad. One of Lori's friends, Audrey Baratero, shed more light on her and Chad's philosophy around light and dark.
Do you know what it meant when she was explaining this, if someone was a zombie?
Yes. The idea was like the person was possessed and that there was a spirit in them that needed to be taken out.
Did you ever discuss with Lori or Chad whether someone was light or dark?
Yes.
What did that mean?
Chad had this idea that, I guess, like he would say if someone was light or dark, depending on if like they were predominantly a good person or if he predominantly thought that they were a negative person.
Okay. Did you discuss with Lori people that she believed were dark or were zombies?
Yes.
And who were those people?
She said her husband Charles was, and then later at the end of the friendship, she said that her children were.
Anyone else?
And Tammy.
Both Lori and Chad believed they were religious figures in their prior lives, and they had no need to repent for their actions in this life, as they were responsible for guiding their followers to salvation. Prosecutor Blake also touched on the close relationship between Lori and her brother, Alex Cox, who allegedly helped carry out several of the murders, including killing Lori's fourth husband, Charles, and her children. Lori exerted power over her brother, Prosecutor Blake said, she included him in her plot to cast out the evil that she believed was inhabiting her children.
If Chad and Lori ask it, Alex did it. You will also hear how Alex Cox was taught by both the defendant and Chad Daybell that his purpose in this probation or this life or this creation, whichever term they use, was to protect Lori. He was a warrior and he was here to protect Lori.
Testimony from friends and family highlighted just how deep those beliefs went and how Lori could be convincing. In a police interview conducted before the trial, Alex Cox's wife revealed one of the last conversations she had with her husband.
So then I stand up and I start walking away because I'm like, I don't know what to think at this point. And that's when he said, I think I am being their fall guy. And I'm like, the fall guy for what? What is it? Tell me. What is it that they're trying to pin on you? What did they do?
He wouldn't tell her. The next day, Alex suddenly passed away. Cell phone records on September 9th, 2019, the morning after the last day Tylee was seen, indicate that Alex was on Chad's property, close to where Tylee's and JJ's bodies would eventually be found. Prosecutor Blake explained that Lori told friends and family, even sent messages, regarding how dark Tylee was. And when Lori's kids went missing, Blake said, she didn't let anyone know.
There were no known actions taken by the defendant. No report to law enforcement. No missing person posters. No inquiries. Similarly with JJ, little 7-year-old boy. The defendant said he was dark. He was possessed. She told people this. There's messages about it. But again, what you won't hear is that when JJ went missing, that the defendant did anything. There are no known actions by the defendant to find JJ. No report to law enforcement. No missing person posters. No inquiries.
Prosecutor Blake explained that testimony would corroborate that Lori was open with these beliefs, that friends and family wanted to believe her, to follow her. This further fueled her need for power. But in reality, Blake said, Lori and Chad were using their religious ideas to manipulate people into blindly believing them. Melanie Gibb, a friend of Lori's, testified that she participated in some of the ritual castings and that she thought helping cast out the demons could bring Lori's family peace. But their philosophy regarding castings and the light and dark changed over time. At some point, Lori and Chad started explaining that sometimes the only way to cast out a demon was to kill the person it possessed. Lori was already in Hawaii at the time of Tammy Daybell's sudden death in Idaho on October 19, 2019. Prosecutor Blake suggested her immediate actions were evidence of her involvement in the murder. Initially ruled a death by natural causes, Chad and his children discovered Tammy's body on the morning of the 19th. Tammy Daybell's sister, Samantha Gwilliam, testified that Chad had told her his wife felt ill the night before.
Chad called me the morning that she passed away.
Do you recall what he told you?
He told me that she had been really sick and that she had been coughing all night, and he had gotten up and with a coughing fit around midnight, 1 o'clock, and had gone back to sleep. And he was awakened by her that morning when she rolled out of bed dead.
Did that make any sense to you?
No, because I had just seen her 2 weeks previous to that, and she hadn't been she wasn't that sick at all. She was very healthy.
Although her death was sudden, Chad didn't elect to have an autopsy conducted on Tammy. On her death certificate, it was determined she died of natural causes. Only a week after Tammy's passing, Chad began introducing Lori to friends and family. Prosecutor Blake noted an odd introduction Chad gave when Lori was meeting his neighbors.
But maybe most interestingly, Chad Daybell makes a statement when Lori's asked about kids, that she had a young daughter that had recently died. Lori says nothing about JJ. No mention of a young son. No correcting Chad on the whereabouts or if her daughter was alive or not.
It was only a few weeks after Tammy's death that the two wed in Hawaii. Lori was planning the wedding long before Tammy's passing, however, according to an investigation from East Idaho News. Journalist Nate Eaton reported that a reliable source had sent him a screenshot, which was confirmed by two others, that shows Lori's wedding ring was ordered on Amazon on October 12th, 17 days before Tammy died. Eaton also reported that a website history on the computer from which the ring was ordered also showed someone searching for wedding dresses the very next day. Over and over again, Prosecutor Blake argued that the evidence revealed that the couple was aware of and unbothered by the deaths of Lori's children.
You'll hear how similarly he was looking for a rental property for them in Hawaii. And on that application, same thing. No minor children. Just Chad and Lori. Just Chad and the defendant. Just the way they wanted it.
Prosecutor Blake told the jury that when JJ's grandparents, the Woodcocks, filed a missing persons report for JJ, Lori was less than forthcoming with details to the police. When officers arrived to search Lori's apartment in Idaho in November, she claimed JJ was with her friend, Melanie Gibb, in Arizona. The problem was, Gibb was told JJ was with his grandparents, who had in fact filed the missing persons report. Lori couldn't explain where JJ or Tylee were.
The defendant did not cooperate in locating them. Instead, when law enforcement returned, she'd cleared out her apartment and moved to Hawaii with Chad, her new husband. While Chad and Lori were starting their new life together in Hawaii, law enforcement had begun a massive search for JJ and Tylee. It became a nationwide search for those children.
The haste with which Chad and Lori married after Tammy's death, as well as their lack of cooperation in the search for Lori's missing children, tipped off the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. In December 2019, the authorities labeled Tammy's death suspicious and moved to exhume her body. In his testimony, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Eric Christensen revealed abnormalities discovered in the autopsy that didn't align with death by natural causes.
In addition to having, no anatomical abnormalities, no organ pathology per se, no pneumonia, no other pathologic process that would explain her death, she did also have some injuries on her arms, very nonspecific blunt injuries, bruises on her right arm, left arm, and on her left chest, which were determined to be relatively acute injuries, had happened, within the hours around the time of her death. Would be, by their nature, those types of blunt injuries are not specific, but they are certainly consistent with someone being restrained. And would be, consistent with asphyxia as a cause of death as well.
While Lori may have been out of town at the time of Tammy's death, Prosecutor Blake argued that her actions show she was aware of the plot. She closed out her opening statements by reminding the jury that in Idaho, defendants can be charged as a principal, which includes committing the act, aiding and abetting in the act, or having advised, encouraged, or commanded others to commit the crime.
And we feel that if you apply your reason and common sense.
21 and May 2020, wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can go to jordanharbinger.com/subscribe. Jim Archibald represented Lori Vallow Daybell. Before the trial, Lori's longtime lawyer, Mark Means, was disqualified at the request of the prosecution. Means was removed from this case for multiple reasons. He was also representing Chad, and since the couple was being tried separately, representing both became a conflict of interest. Additionally, as the death penalty was on the table, Means was not qualified to represent Lori because he wasn't death penalty certified counsel. A seasoned public defender in Idaho, Jim Archibald gave his opening statements from his seat, reading off a prepared statement as he sat next to Lori. After introducing himself and his team to the jury, Archibald asked the jury to find her not guilty as stories and accounts from witnesses diverged.
So what happened? How did these children die? Who was involved? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Why? Why did it happen?
Archibald touched on some similar themes as Prosecutor Blake, agreeing that Lori has a magnetic personality that many people were attracted to. But he said that evidence supporting her involvement in these murders was thin. It didn't prove her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, he said.
If after considering all the evidence or the lack of evidence, you have a reasonable doubt about Lori's guilt, you must find her not guilty.
After a moment of sorting through papers littering the defendant's table, Archibald turned to Lori's alibi, which he claimed cleared her of suspicion.
There's something called an alibi that was filed as part of this response, part of these allegations. So here's the alibi that was filed on Lori's behalf. Lori Vallow was in her own apartment in Rexburg, Idaho, when J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan died in the apartment of Alex Cox in Rexburg, Idaho. Lori was with Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, and/or Chad Daybell. And Lori was in Hawaii when Tammy Daybell died at the home of Chad Daybell in Salem, Idaho. Lori was with Melanie Bedreau and/or Audrey Baratario in Hawaii. So that's the alibi filed in this case.
Reminding the jury of who was on trial, Archibald reiterated that Lori was on trial here, not Alex Cox or Chad Daybell. Although she was closely associated with them, she was not responsible for their acts, he said. Even if they were implicated through cell phone records or witness testimonies, he said there was a lack of evidence to support Lori's hand in these murders.
Cases, again, can be solved with evidence. They can be solved with lack of evidence. And when there's lack of evidence, the law calls it not guilty. You said you would be fair and impartial. You said you would have an open mind to not judge her until you heard all the evidence in this courtroom. You said you would do your duty, and I believe you. If what the state has alleged here cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, you said you would find her not guilty.
As the trial pushed forward, the prosecution's witnesses testified to Lori's fervent religious beliefs, her affair and marriage to Chad, and details surrounding the discovery of JJ's and Tylee's remains. One of the most powerful and disturbing testimonies came from Detective Ray Hermosillo, who described finding the remains of JJ and Tylee on Chad Daybell's property. Lori requested not to appear in court that day due to the sensitive nature of the testimony, but her motion was not granted.
I saw a little boy in red pajamas. He had a white plastic bag around his head, several layers of duct tape from his chin to his forehead area. His arms were duct taped with several layers of duct tape His arms were folded like this across his chest.
On the duct tape that was binding JJ was hair that matched with Lori's DNA. Detective Hermosillo was visibly upset on the stand. JJ's grandfather, Larry Woodcock, wept throughout his testimony. Paramedics were called to the courthouse later in the trial to administer aid to him. In addition to experts and investigators present at the scene, the state assembled a full roster of witnesses from Lori's life to testify about her character. Friends and family members took the stand, illuminating her extreme beliefs that fueled her behavior. Melanie Gibb, Lori's close friend, went to the police early in their search for JJ and admitted that Lori had encouraged her to lie to them. Gibb provided insight into Lori's mindset around the time of the murders when she visited her in Idaho.
Did you see JJ when you were there?
I did.
Did Lori talk to you about JJ while you were there?
She did.
What did she tell you about JJ?
When I first arrived, she let me know that she said that JJ had now had an evil spirit in him. She had learned it from the day before.
Did she indicate how she knew that he had an evil spirit?
She said that she always went to Chad about this information and he would share it with her when it would happen.
Did she indicate whether or not she'd made any observations regarding the behaviors of JJ?
She did.
And what did she tell you?
She would tell me his behavior was more difficult, and she would tell me his speech was more intelligent, and she would tell me he would say things like, I love Satan. She told me he would, climb up on the refrigerator and go top of the cabinets, and he was acting just more aggressive.
Gibb testified that Lori asked her to tell the police that JJ was with her and to send images of the kids as proof. She said not long after this conversation, she went to the police. 27-year-old Colby Ryan was the sole surviving child of Lori's. He also provided powerful testimony. Ryan's close relationship with his sister Tylee tipped him off that something was wrong, and he corroborated the last time Tylee was seen alive.
What was it about your conversations in text with Tylee that gave you concern?
When I first texted her, I had followed up with a few different phone calls and FaceTimes. And then the texts I was receiving back were just in different language than how Tylee would type and talk, and just the way she used her punctuation and things like that. It was just different.
Okay. So was it fair to say you felt like it wasn't Tylee you were speaking with?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know approximately how long you continued to receive text messages from her after you felt like it changed?
A little bit after her birthday on the 24th, September 24th.
More of Lori's biological family members took the stand to testify against her. During her sister Summer's testimony, the prosecution shared a recording from a phone call between Lori and Summer from while Lori was in jail. In the call, Summer tells her that if Lori really did put her kids in garbage like a piece of trash, then she doesn't really know her.
Lori, if you let that happen to them and didn't tell us if this would be in the ground like a piece of trash, then I don't know you, because you would have never done anything like that.
In tears for the duration of her testimony, Summer shared her disbelief at Lori's actions. She testified that she would have been willing to take JJ and Tylee in if there had been issues at the home. The jury also heard from members of Chad's family, including Tammy Daybell's sister and aunt, and also from JJ's grandparents. The prosecution called nearly 60 witnesses to testify over 5 weeks. On the other hand, the defense chose not to put on a case, resting after just 2 hours, arguing that the state did not meet its burden of proof. Lori did not take the stand, although during the prosecution's case, the jury did get to hear her own words in the form of text messages she had exchanged with Chad. One exchange was from July 2019, from when Lori was going on a trip with JJ, her niece, and her niece's children. Chad texted Lori and asked, "Do you want me to cause pain yet to those 2 3s you're riding with?" Lori responded, "They will be mistake to deal with, but I'll text you if they start acting up and we can zap them." Chad then wrote, "Sounds great. Yes, if they're going to act up, we'll at least give them a reason to scream. I love, cherish, and adore you. The wonderful memories keep coming back. You are mesmerizing." In another exchange from August 2019, they discussed a plan for the children. Lori wrote, "We just have to wait for it to be carried out. I feel lost, like I should be doing something to help." Chad responded, "There is a plan being orchestrated for the children. I was shown last night how it fit together, but it has been taken from my mind, of course." During the course of the trial, reports surfaced that Lori's demeanor ranged from detached to smug, raising her eyebrows when testimony questioned her parenting abilities, and at times even laughing and smiling with her attorneys. On Thursday, May 11th, Rob Wood delivered the state's closing arguments.
Money, power, and sex. Beginning in October of 2018, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell set in motion a series of events that led to 3 horrific murders in the state of Idaho.
Going back to the refrain that started it all, Wood tied Lori's motivations back to money, power, and sex, overcoming any obstacles in her way through manipulation or murder. Whether Lori murdered, aided, abetted, or counseled the parties involved, the prosecution argued they proved without a doubt that she had her hand in the process. From her DNA found among the bodies of her murdered children to testimony and texts between Chad and Lori, they alleged it was clear she had been involved in the planning and execution of the 3 murders in Idaho. In his closing arguments, Lori's attorney, Jim Archibald, continued to lay out his refrain, beyond a reasonable doubt. Could the jury be certain Lori was involved in the murders?
So what did the evidence tell you? What were you convinced of beyond a reasonable doubt? Her children are dead. No question about that. But did she kill anyone? And that's where the state concedes. Yeah, these people are dead, but did Lori do it?
After weeks of testimony, it took the jury just 7 hours over 2 days to reach their verdict. On May 11th, 2023, the 12-person jury found Lori guilty on all 7 counts, including the murders of Tylee and JJ, as well as conspiring to kill Tammy Daybell. The verdict, being determined so close to Mother's Day, wasn't lost on those in the courtroom. As per state law, Lori's sentencing came 3 months later, on July 31st, 2023, at the hands of Judge Stephen Boyce. During the sentencing hearing, Lori spoke for the first time publicly in nearly 3 years, in a bizarre and upsetting statement regarding the deaths of her children.
Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy.
You chose the most evil and destructive path possible, Judge Boyce told her afterwards. He sentenced Lori to 3 consecutive life terms in prison with no opportunity for parole. He noted she had shown no signs of remorse during the trial, which influenced his sentence. Although Lori has received a ruling on these 3 murders, her time in court is far from over. She faces additional charges in Arizona, additional murder charges. This includes conspiracy to commit murder of her 4th husband, Charles Vallow, with her brother, Alex Cox, in addition to the attempted murder of her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. Extradition from Idaho to Arizona will likely happen before the end of the year. It's unlikely that the families of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy feel any sort of closure. After Lori's sentencing, JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, expressed that the fight for justice is far from over.
This is the closest thing we can get to satisfaction.
We've got to finish this. We cannot stop.
Chad Daybell is set to appear in court in April 2024 before Judge Boyce. He is facing 6 charges, including the murder of his first wife, Tammy, and the murders of JJ and Tylee. He is also charged with conspiracy to commit these murders, as well as conspiracy to commit grand theft by deception. And that's all for this episode. As always, I'd love to hear what you think about this case. Let me know by joining the conversation on Instagram at CourtJunkie, by tweeting us at CourtJunkiePod, or by emailing us at podcast@courtjunkie.com. This episode was researched and written by Emma Diehl. Matt Stroud edited. If you'd like to hear these episodes without the ads, hear additional Court Junkie bonus episodes, or get access to our weekly newsletter regarding fascinating court cases, check out our Patreon options at courtjunkie.com/support. And be sure to check out our sister podcast, Civil, currently on a break right now, which covers interesting civil cases and trials. You can subscribe by searching for Civil Court Junkie on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.
See what hit blockbusters are streaming free this month during Popcorn Summer Movies on Pluto TV. Watch action-packed movies like Charlie's Angels and comedies like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, or enjoy School of Rock and the adventures of Tintin with the whole family. Plus, Pluto TV has thousands of other free movies available on live and on demand. Download Pluto TV on all your favorite devices for free and start streaming now.